This is our biggest hack. I'm gonna literally show you the biggest hack. This took me years of experimentation to finally come to, and it's so simple, but literally gets me 80% of the polished result. And I call it the mix bus magic. So every DAW, whether you're in Ableton, Logic, Pro Tools, whatever you're using, you're gonna have a master track, just like what you see here. And on that master track, that's where all of your sound is outputting to, right? Everything ultimately comes here. So any plugins that you add onto the master is gonna affect the sound of the entire mix. You may be familiar with this concept. Some people call it top-down mixing. Some people call it mix bus. The reason it's so magical is because when you just add the right plugins like what we have here, and I'll show you in a second, it's gonna give your entire mix a whole new sound. So first I'm gonna turn off the mix bus. So this is without it, all right? I'll do it one more time. Listen to how much more it opens up, right? When I turn it off, it's gonna sound really dull, muddy, boxy, condensed. So listen for that. Now we turn it on, listen to how it opens up. There's more air, there's more high end, it just sounds more crisp. So that's happening because of these few plugins that we have here, literally. That's literally responsible for 80% of that polished sound, right? And because we have this on a template, whenever we produce a new song, guess what? Most of the mixing is already being taken care of for us on autopilot. So all you have to do is focus on the production and the creativity. This is gonna 10x the workflow. A lot of producers think that the mixing is a separate process. So they won't have any plugins. They'll produce the whole song, spend all this time, and then they'll try to mix it themselves, or they'll outsource it to someone to mix it for them, which again costs a lot of money. And then it comes back sounding totally different and not necessarily in a good way. But when you're already producing into a mixing template such as this, what you hear is what you get. There's no surprises later on. You're producing into something and you're already hearing what it's gonna sound like as a final result, which is gonna give you more accurate decisions for everything that you do when it comes to sound selection, layering, arrangement, so on and so forth, right? So let's take a look at what we have in this mix bus chain, all right? First thing we have is an analog style compressor. This is modeled after one of those old school compressors that they used to have back in the day. Gives it a little bit of color, gives it a little bit more warmth. Then we have a second compressor, which is just doing a tad bit of compression to help give that track more bounce, make it a little more in your face, right? Help it pop out through the speakers ever so slightly. It's also an analog style compressor. Now you don't need all this. You can just use the same stock plugins. You know, you can go to your audio effects, just type compressor, get the standard thing. It all does the same stuff at the end of the day. The last thing I want is for you to think that you need to have the same plugins as us to get the same sound. It's absolutely not true at all, okay? I happen to have them, so I'm working with them. But if I had stock plugins, I work with those too. After that, we have this plugin called Center, and what this does is it's really spreading out the mix. It's making it a lot wider, right? This is giving a lot of width, a lot more clarity, and it really does a lot. Actually, I would say out of all the plugins, this one is doing most of the heavy lifting here. It's responsible for most of that, you know, nice open sound. Then we top that off with a vinyl emulator. This is actually giving a little more high end. I have it set in a way where it's giving more of a hi-fi sound, hence the name Mix Bus Hi-Fi that you can see right here. So this is gonna add some more crisp, add some more top end to make it sound a little more shiny. And then after that, we have a limiter just to make sure that our audio doesn't clip and start distorting and sounding nasty. So this limiter is gonna prevent any of that from happening. So that's the style that we like to approach with mixing. Less is more, keep it simple, get something that works consistently across many different genres. I use this, I don't even change it. To be honest with you, for all my songs, I have the same mix bus. And it works, it sounds great. And the mixing is basically happening simultaneously. It saves me a lot of time. And this is what I want you to adopt. I don't want you to become some technical engineer wasting all your time tweaking knobs and studying the science of sound. You don't need to do that. Just keep it simple, focus on what you love, which is making the music. And we're here to help you facilitate that process. Okay, so that's most of the mixing in a nutshell. Of course, on our individual tracks, we do have, some EQs, some things like multi-band compression. There are some, a little more subtleties and nuances to this. But for the sake of time, I'm not going to go too much into detail because, again, this mix bus is responsible for most of that polished sound. All the other things is going to get you that extra 20% of polish, of little nuances, all right? Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what you want to see next time. If you're curious about how we can personally help you take your music to the next level, click the link in the description to join our free training, and we'll see you there. Peace.